It's like the GPS for teaching, right? You need to have some sort of a direction to go.
It's very true. The relationship or the engagement that is between the teachers and students is very, very critical. Teachers can never be replaced.
And why are they coming to school? If AI can take care of everything, they're coming for you, the person. Yes.
But teachers who are not able to use technology, not able to engage, definitely will be replaced.
Reflection is mandatory to figure out what did I learn from all of this that I was taught.
So, hello everyone. Welcome to another podcast in the series of Changemakers in Education and Learning from the Leaders. Today we have Kiran Bir Sethi with us, who is the founder of Design for Change and the Riverside School. Kiran is globally recognized designer, educator, and social innovator. She is the founder of the Riverside School in Ahmedabad, India, and the Design for Change movement, which empowers children to drive change in their communities. Kiran's work emphasizes fostering an I can mindset in children, enabling them to become proactive problem solvers. She is an Ashoka Fellow and has received numerous awards for her pioneer work in education and social impact. Today, DFC is the world's largest movement of change of and by children, and today it is in 60 plus countries, impacting over 2.2 million children and 65,000 teachers. She is also the founder of Approach, I think I got it right, an initiative to make our cities more child-friendly, for which she was awarded the Ashoka Fellow in 2008. In 2009, she received the Call to Conscience Award by the King's Center at Stanford. And Kiran, I've been associated with DFC in a special way. In 2009, I think you started off from that first year onwards. I've been associated with this particular program that you really initiated. And personally, I would like to say, whenever I have been interacting with you, you come out as a very joyful person, and I think that joyful thing has really moved into the whole system that you have developed. And as we hear in many other training program, many other speeches, we need joyful teaching, and for joyful teaching, we need joyful teachers, and for joyful teachers, we need people who have initiated such program. And you are one of those rare person, I would say, exuding the whole joyful part of it, which is really needed to become teachers as joyful teachers. So thank you once again, Kiran, for coming over to our podcast. And let's start now by asking you, what is the inspiration behind and why did you start this whole program as such?
Why did I start which program? I mean, because
all the three programs. So you started, I think, initially with Approach and then Design for Change, Riverside School. So you can start with the Riverside School.
Yeah. So I think when you capture the whole idea of joy, right, at the heart of what I think the human energy is, we as a species, I don't think there's any other species on the planet that experiences joy the way we do. And joy comes from interactions and learning and challenges and curiosity. And that entire concept of joy was devoid in my son's education. I mean, I think that's really where it started. When you see an absence of joy, and then you think, oh my God, for 15 years, my son is going to have no joy in his schooling. I think that really kind of bothered me. And in many ways, it was the idea of rewarding compliance and saying, acha bacha bano, good boy bano. That's what we do in education. And very early on, we tell our children that they will be appreciated and acknowledged as long as they repeat whatever we say. And if they do that well, then they go ahead. And I think children get very smart about understanding these things. And very often, for 15 years, if they do that, that becomes their mindset. And that's the unfortunate part of what we do as citizenship. We don't build citizens who can be creative and empowered and joyful because we remove all of that from them in their schooling. So I think for me that experience was so unjoyful that I sort of said there has to be a better way to educate our children. And coming from a background in design, and because I graduated from the NID, I think the possibility was always at the heart of the question. The question is why not? And what if? What if learning was joyful? What if learning had the child at the heart of it? And I think that what if prompted me to take my son out of school and then start the Riverside, really as a promise, as an idea to say, can we really build a journey of learning where the child doesn't become incidental, but a key player. And Riverside pretty much started with that hypothesis that when you bring children into the room, into the framework, into the designing, does that build agency? And it was so clear from day one that it did. The simple act of listening to children, the simple act of acknowledging their presence, the simple act of understanding that learning is an invitation, not an imposition, or an instruction, right? So that just was so beautiful to see with children that just became like the way forward. So that was the heart of Riverside. So then when we saw the work happening at Riverside and seeing this agency with children in 2008, as there was an opportunity to now take this to the cities. So I remember it was really provoked by a chance conversation by my oldest kids at that time. They were in grade 7. And we were talking about play. And I was talking to them about how I played in the streets of Bangalore when I was growing up. And it was just such a beautiful idea of, just like reclaiming the streets of the city as your own playground. And the children remarked, "Are you mad, K-man? That's not possible. Our parents won't send us down. We have to be at home." And that basically became the provocation to say, how can our cities become places for childhood, and creating these moments of memory? And so approach pretty much started as that initiative. And the kids and us, we went to the municipality and to the police and basically said, let's reclaim the cities as a space for the citizen. And the citizen has to be a child. Because when the child grows up believing that a city cares, then they will care for the city. It's a very beautiful cycle of caring. So 2008 was approach, and then 2009, again, the opportunity came up to look at the same, I would say, operating system at Riverside and say, how do you simplify it and give it to the world and to give it to every child? And so 2009 became Design for Change and a way to kind of put that out to get every child to believe that wherever they are, they have all the superpowers within themselves. They have a heart that sort of cares. They have a mind that can think. They have the will to do something about and then tell the story. So feel, imagine, do, and share became our superhero formula. And we presented it to children in 30,000 schools in India in year one. And then subsequently it went global. And now we're not in 60 plus countries, we're in 70 plus countries. And then, of course, the latest venture was coming back to your question about teachers, right? We started the Riverside Learning Center as a training center to build the same mindset in school leadership and teachers. So it's really been a journey of taking that idea from my son, where there was no joy, and now hoping that children across the world can benefit from the understanding that they have all the powers within them, and all we have to do is create the opportunities for them to live out this beautiful power that they have.
I think along with no, the children in 70 plus countries, and I think maybe nearly 70,000 teachers, even I'm grateful that you started Riverdale School, because otherwise
Riverside,
you would
Riverside.
Riverside, sorry, Riverside School. And I'm sure, no, let us go a little more deeper on that particular aspect that you have achieved with that, that I can spirit, which you have, instill in all your children, and also make sure teachers are also doing that. So how can this, the traditional framework, how it's working in the public education system. So how can we, this educational frameworks incorporate children's voices in shaping their learning experiences? Because the type of schools that you have started, it's a few in number, but we have a large public school education system. So how will you manage in that whole education framework? Yeah, over to you.
Well, I think the thing that I've realized, I mean, over the 25 years now of running the school, we started our 25th year this year. I think the idea is about a simple recipe that is universally sound. And I look at I will take the analogy of a recipe. Let's take, I mean, I'm again shaping it back to my first time I ever cooked khichdi. It was prompted by my desire to feed my son. I never had any great desire to learn cooking till I became a mother. And as a mother, I remember wanting to kind of, bring my love and everything to food. And all it required was a simple recipe. That means from me being knowing nothing about cooking to being able to follow a simple recipe to make this khichdi, and then to top it up with my own little, a version. Okay, so I could add little hing, or I could add little, chop pyaz as a tadka and everything. That idea of a recipe is a very powerful way that everybody can up their game. So I went from knowing nothing to learning how to cook the basic khichdi, and then adding and topping it up with my innovations to make it my own. You saw the three levels of how one can actually go and grow onto a learning path. That's actually what we've done. What we've done is recognizing that all the talk in the world and all the kind of training doesn't really empower somebody to do it till they have a framework to hold on to. It's like the roadmap. It's like the GPS for teaching, right? You need to have some sort of a direction to go.
Mhm.
Most often than not, the recipes have been devoid of what we will say meaning and purpose. It was meant to deliver content, not to reach children,
Sure.
right?
Okay.
And it did, I would say, not the best job, but it really did it. The teacher was expected to come in, not engage, not to invite, but to instruct. And in the instruction, the recipe was quite sound. Go in, open the textbook, read the chapter, write it on the board, copy it, leave. And that worked. Sorry, that worked for the teacher to deliver, but did not get
Well,
learning to happen. So once we looked at the ingredients of that recipe and say, what is the foundational recipe for learning? Okay, and how can any teacher, no matter where they are, use those same ingredients to at least get your base level practice, like the base khichdi done. And it's not rocket science. The ingredients are very simple. It is relevance, it is rigor, relationships, and reflection. So what happened was, in most schools there would be rigor, and the rigor would be repetitive rigor. It will be
and
copy
get
rigor,
marks. Get
right?
marks.
It will be writing rigor. And the relevance would not be relevance to why this can matter in life, but the topic. Let's
Mm.
learn solar system. Solar system has, it
Yeah.
just got devoid of real meaning and purpose. And relationships never featured. When we talk about joy, and you started the conversation with joy, relationships were not expected to be part of that recipe. And you keep quiet, you listen, copy what I say, and I leave. And the idea of
Mhm.
relationships is a powerful way to bring joy and voice back. And the relationship part is so research sound. It is so sound and research to say that when children like, of course, the teacher, respect the teacher, they're more likely going to like even what they learn.
Mhm.
It's a non-negotiable. It's not rocket science. But for 15 years, if I see the back of my teacher writing on the board, there's no chance I'm engaging with my teacher. So the idea of relationships can be built in very simple and sweet ways, and that's different. But the fourth ingredient is reflection.
Yeah, that's good.
Reflection is mandatory to figure out what did I learn from all of this that I was taught. There were lots of things that came out on that in that 40 minutes. What was really important? What should I really take back with me? Right? The idea of reflection and takeaways. So when we crafted this recipe for what we call the learning enablers, we have now run it with 500 schools in Gujarat. We've run it with 500 schools. We've run it with the Ministry of Bhutan. We've run it across in schools in India. The entire network schools are taking that simple ingredients for learning. And the feedback has been phenomenal. Teachers are basically coming back to the teacher piece have said, oh my God, this recipe makes sense. I now walk in completely focused on the fact that these ingredients are going to result in a tasty dish. It's going to be a moment. And then we can add and delete to it because we can make our own tadka and our own, or we can contextualize it. So pedagogy has changed. The pedagogy has brought back relevance. It has brought back meaningful rigor, not copying rigor. It has brought back the idea of relationship, recognizing children to participate and add value. And then it has recognized the idea of reflection. So it's by virtue of providing frameworks like this that can enable and take any teacher to a base level cook, I would say, and then a master chef is not difficult. And these four ingredients are not about tech. It's not about fancy PhDs. It's not about fancy training. It's just a simple recipe that if you take it into the class and give it to your children and work at your pedagogy, it changes the game. Right. So I think what we've done is being able to provide and distill from our own experience a lot of these what was working here. It is very difficult to tell somebody come here, see what's working, and then try and replicate it. We're not asking you to do that at all. We're saying what we went back into a deep reflection, what was working, and then can we take it, create it into simple templates and frameworks and tools that can then go forward. I think that has been our greatest learning. So I would feel that getting the teachers to feel a sense of confidence in that recipe and contextualizing it with their own little personality and their own little tarka can create magical share. And then you can literally have the minimum practice higher. The minimum base level practice can go higher. Right? That is, I think, what we need to be focusing on.
I think it's really wonderful to hear what you say in terms of how you were inspired by your sons. The joyful teaching has to be there. Now you started looking at recipe for good education, and you put it into a very, very simple fact. I think we need more such educators, I would say, who can talk about good things in such a simple way. And it's very true, the relationship or the engagement that is between the teachers and students is very, very critical, in which I also find in my 28 years of experience. Without that, you cannot. In fact, I should tell my teachers, teachers can never be replaced.
Yes.
But teachers who are not able to use technology, not able to engage, definitely will be able to, will be replaced. In fact, we have also seen some of the news coming out from different quarters of India. Their robots have started coming into the school. So it's unfortunate that the robots or the machine is trying to replace the teacher, your human being, the human touch, the social skill, that empathy that is required to be transferred in the classroom is slowly moving out into mechanization. So taking a cue from what you've said, you have done a lot of innovations. I would say it's a very innovative approach. Whether it is from the schools that you started, the DFC approach, all three, it has been a very innovation itself. Now, when you look at the future, the way now we can see future of education. There's a lot of reels around that future of education coming in. So what innovations do you foresee shaping the future of education in India, particularly regarding child-led initiatives?
Yeah, I don't think innovation, see, I keep saying inspiration is an underrated innovation, right? I don't think we definitely have to be innovative or different to make any big changes. I think practices that are sound, are based around the science of learning, don't have to be innovated, but they have to be contextualized. I think that's really where the real innovation has to happen. Because of our diversity, because of the great, kinds of schools that we have, I think that we're not doing a very good job in the contextualizing. Right? It's not just take a thing, fit it into your system and try to make it work. It doesn't work that way. It's never worked that way, right? Because wherever a particular practice has been born, it has been born out of a context that that practice thrived at. Okay, it found its roots. You can't just pluck it up and put it here. And I think we don't do enough of the work around the contextualizing, because context sensitive innovation is critical to longevity and sustaining. You don't have context sensitive, you just plug and play, it's not going to work. And I think we forget that who's going to do the context is the teachers. Teachers in that space, children in that ecosystem, they're going to be the designers of that context. But when we don't give agency to teachers and we just bring it down and say, Abhi ye karo, you do this and roll it out from next year, and there's no agency or buy-in from teachers, then there's less likelihood that anybody's going to have any benefit, because there will be a resistance. I don't want to do it. All these are new ideas. We don't want to do this. What are you saying? I think therein lies the leadership piece. And I keep saying that school leaders can be bridges or barriers for change because they're going to be the abilities to make those systems design. Unfortunately, we still don't have the kind of agency in teachers who can decide something, have it run in her class without necessarily the buy-in of maybe the principal or the head or whatever, right? But the idea that agency within the team, which is basically parents, teachers, support staff, students, etc., the ecosystem must understand the joy of contextualizing, right? That is where we don't spend the time, the necessary patience we don't have for that. So we will say, oh, innovation karna hai, AI. Let's put AI. And we just roll it out without thinking twice. Let's get smart boards, right? Roll it out without thinking twice. And I think something that I have learned, and this is really a nod to my education design, the the fidelity to the user and the idea of understanding how the users of that so-called practice or innovation will respond to it. Will it really work in my setting? Will it really help? Will it change the experience? Will it make it more meaningful? These questions we don't often ask. So when we keep saying we must have innovation in education, no, not true at all. We must have lots more contextualizing in education. And that's not what we're doing enough.
It's very true. I think a lot of innovative practices, good practices are around us inside the country and outside the country. Now, when you're talking about recipe, most of us are into fast food. Can I do it overnight? Can I change overnight? So everything has its own pace. We need to contextualize. That's the point that you have been stressing from time and again. Not all of us are really patient to get into that contextualization part. So yes, and also the other point that you said, the agency of teachers, how we empower the teachers to take decisions. Just to give you, I'm sure you are aware of this data that as a report tells us that about 15% of Indian teachers receive continuous professional development. There is another study of similar in 23 talk about only 7% of high performing students in India consider teaching as a career.
Mm.
So if in this scenario, how do you make, how do you invite a lot more good students who are passing out of 12th, coming back to teaching as a career? And how do you project teaching as an aspirational career for the students?
Yeah, but I'll tell you something. I think there's a myth that we suggest that the smartest students will become the best teachers. I don't think that's true at all. No, I think teachers, anybody can, like I said, with a recipe, even me who didn't know how to cook, could cook. Yeah, I'm not saying it as flippantly as that, but I'm just saying that there's a certain personality, there's a certain um, warmth, there's a certain gravitas that is required in teaching. This is not just, oh, I'll put the smartest one. See, because the smartest idea is not necessarily smarts in the area of teaching. Teaching requires a whole different set of smarts. It requires patience and time and a joyful smile. It requires even good health. We don't even talk about health. And
Yes.
nowadays, it is becoming so integral just to show up. When you show up and you're showing up every single day, that's at the heart of teaching, firstly. And I think we don't understand, we underestimate all of these skills. So I think the myth is that if you just bring our smartest children, I think that's true for if you're looking at your this as more as like a fellowship, not as a profession. It's very
Yeah.
different when you're looking at it. So yes, I think an ecosystem must have a variety of people in your team. You should have the ones who've been there who use it as a career choice. Some are using it as maybe just a job, and some are using it as a fellowship. It needs a different kinds of people to be in there. But to take it as a profession, as a career choice, oh, very different skill sets. It requires to have a genuine, authentic love to be or interest to be in front of children. Not everybody likes that,
Yeah.
and be able to have patience and stamina. Not everybody has that. It's not a cool job. It is a meaningful job. And that meaningful is not often fun. I mean, I keep saying going to a spa is a lot more fun than becoming a mother, but being a mother is so much more purposeful, right? So there's a difference in understanding what you bring to the table as being a teacher. And yeah, so I think uh, to build the kind of teachers, I think it's just coming back and harking on the idea of possibly having the best kind of recipes that they can follow. The way that they can try it again and again, the way that they can add their own tadka. All of this is part of the profession, the development that you do for self, the celebration of a recipe that comes out from a teacher. And you say, oh my God, that was so cool. I want to try that tadka. But we don't do that. We don't build that collegiality amongst teacher groups. We have to
Mhm.
build all of that. We have to see good practice. We have to go into another class and say, hey, show me your recipe. And I'll show you my. We don't build that ability to share, to engage as colleagues, not just as people who like each other, but people who respect each other. But it means that there should be, I think, leadership's greatest focus should be on capacity building, personal and professional, not just professional, because most schools get dry because they just say, okay, let's just sit into another workshop. And then the teachers get totally fed up and say, yeah, time waste. But if you
Mhm.
don't have ability to build self-worth, again, joy, coming back to joy for the adults as well. So if you're adults, and I say all adults, whether it's the teacher team, whether it's the parents are not engaged with this beautiful journey of a child, you're less likely going to, get the
Yeah.
outcome you want.
So I think, as you said, while getting the so-called good students or maybe high-performing student in terms of grades may not be main factor. Definitely, patience is required. That passion for being with the children is important, and also is able to respect each other, build that sense of collegiality. In fact, one of my experience when I moved, because since we are working with various B.Ed colleges in the country, so when we move out, many of the colleges. Uh, Exhibit about 10 to 15% of the students who have really wanted to become a teacher who come into that B.Ed college. The remaining 80 or 85 percentage are coming there by chance. And our effort is now those who have come by chance, how do they move out by choice to become a teacher? I mean,
100%.
that's the effort we are looking at.
Yes.
I think some of the points that you have mentioned today, how do we build up that patience and the love for children is something which we are trying to inculcate in these students, pre-service student teachers, so that when they become teachers, they are not only just prepared, but also consider themselves and take pride in what they're going to do as a teacher. And I think many of the points that you now talked about, definitely it will improve in making teaching as an aspirational profession sooner or later, because unfortunately that's not the case in the current scenario. Hopefully things will be much better in the days to come.
Sure.
But when we come to earlier you just mentioned about the technology. It's not the tech, it's not the innovation that we are looking at it, but a lot of engagement that we are talking about. But now a lot of things have changed in the field of education, AI in education. Now I don't know, after AI some other I will come in education maybe sooner or later. So what's your perspective on AI in education, especially concerning its impact on children's agency and problem solving skills?
Actually, I'm excited because I see what I can do. See, the kids are going to get it irrespective. They don't need us to make sense of AI. I think for the profession, in terms of the educators, etc., I think it provides such a huge um, ally. It's such a great ally. And if you treat it as an ally, if you treat it as a friend, I think it's able to reduce, one would say, the gadha majuri of the work and provide the joy back into the real time that you have should really go back in the engagement and the conversations and the little bit of huddles, etc. So I feel it can provide, or it can prove to be such a great ally to be able to reduce the even the anxiety for a teacher to say, my God, I wish I could reach out to every child, right? And suddenly AI can become your ally to do that. And that's such a powerful friend you have to be able to help you in quick time, in real time. And I think that's really the heart of it. It is not after 5 days I will give you a feedback and then I will let you know how you did. By then, everybody's attention or interest is gone. So I think if we provide and use AI really as an ally, I think it'd be great. And in fact, now the kind of innovations they're doing with AI is to make it more empathetic, which is fabulous. Basically, it's having a conversation with you and trying to gauge your mood and say, it's not just a dry, monotonous, conversation now. AI, they're providing us so much of the innovation to say, can it really be your friend you can go to who can understand your moods and the way you speak, and then provide that kind of voice recognition. So much is going to happen, and I think it will provide such a way to leapfrog the education system as we know it. In many ways, yes, it will provide opportunities and choices for children who say, listen, I really don't even have to go to school now. And why are they coming to school? If AI can take care of everything, they're coming for you, the person. And if the person doesn't make you want to come there, then why must I come at all? If I have an AI who's already empathetic and the AI is going to kind of answer my questions, etc., think about where your focus has to completely shift. No longer is it never was actually at one point, but content is never the king. You have Khan Academy, you have AI, you have all of that to be able to learn quadratic equation. But you don't have like that Amit sir in the class checking on you, giving you a hug, saying how you're doing, coming and sitting with you. That's what makes the difference. Because everybody has the same set of tools, access to tools. But what makes that foundation difference will be the quality of the engagement and the relationship that you share. So I think there is when you, and I keep coming back to in even all your B.Ed colleges, nobody's teaching teachers to say, boss, that's where it matters. You are the superpower. Your presence when you show up, that's your superpower. We're not telling them that. We're saying, no, get PhD in chemistry and do that. Hey, boss, you don't need it. But we don't tell them you have to smile. Can you imagine? And the entire B.Ed is devoid of telling them about self-worth, about their personality, about joy and patience. We don't have that as a foundational course of a teaching. Everything else now, AI is there to support you on, or the tech is there and the tools are there. So I feel if we don't pivot really quickly and understand what the real education for teachers is going to be to get into the profession, be in schools in front of our children, we're going to lose that opportunity.
It's very true what you have said in terms of AI being ally of a teacher. So I think if I can conclude or summarize the point that you said, AI can really enhance personalized and child-centric learning without depersonalizing the experience.
Yes.
Because that's what matters. In fact, I remember one of the things which I do whenever I move to the college is what is the role of a teacher?
Mm.
It is not for content transfer. That those days are gone.
Yeah.
We need to see how do we improve the skills in the students, instill values and make that as an experience, joyful learning experience while we are being there. And I think you have added that particular point. What matters is your presence, how you have contextualized various recipes that has been given from different quarters. How do you contextualize it in the present times? And that present movement matters. And even the other point that you said is very true. AI can really help us to fast track many of the things which we want to do, and in real time that feedback need to be given, not after 1 month or 2 months. So definitely I also personally believe that AI can be a good ally, technology can be good ally, but we need to see how are we able to prepare the teachers to use this technology for technology enabled education rather than just technology and education. So we have to see how do we marry the two. Now, moving forward, and that would be a kind of a second last question, as I would say. Uh, see, National Education Policy 2020 has bringing a lot of several reforms in the education sector. Do you think we are on the right track toward inclusive and high quality education, especially in empowering children and empowering teachers?
No, I don't think that's a question at all. You can't say high quality without understanding it's always the human capacity and capability and competency that will develop that. So till we do that, no matter what the policy might state, which is grand in its vision, the executioners have to finally be interested in making that happen. So it's unfair to say, can we just suddenly do high quality just because we have a policy? No. Why, if that were true, we would not be having this conversation, right? We have to really do the heavy lifting, and the heavy lifting, we have to have time for it. We have to have the stamina for it. We have to not let it drop. And I don't think we have a collective will to do that. That you have to have collective will.
That's true. In fact, one of the things which when people ask me, do we have enough policies? I always respond to them, I think India must be having one of the best policies. But what we lack is how do we implement the policies?
So,
Of course, a lot of things are there, in letter and spirit. If you are able to implement, we can really fast track many of
because in
things.
all fairness, 25 years ago when we started Riverside, there was no policy then.
Yeah.
Everything that we've done is pretty much exactly what the policy is suggesting, right? That means intent, if you have, and if the intent is sound and true and authentic, a policy is not necessarily going to make that happen, right? If your intent is empowerment, if your intent is values, if your intent is never without the fact that they must be building citizenship, I mean, you don't need, it's not rocket science. We have a beautiful preamble. The preamble suggests and tells you exactly what India wants. Make that your policy, if nothing else. Just say that if everything I do, am I building citizens who are about justice, equality, fraternity, and liberty, right? Can we always keep that in mind? But if our actions are not building that idea, then what excuses are we having, right? So I don't think there's never been a gap in the fact that we finally need, and we have to understand citizenship is nation building, and we forget that if we keep doing the work we're doing and graduating young children who are disenfranchised from their roles as citizens, then we are losing that economic power of building nationhood. So many things that add up to the idea of nation building, right? It's not just I'm running a school. It has a long vision of a promise, and that promise is something that we have to really put our weight behind.
In fact, this has been a very, very wonderful conversation with regard to how we can make things joyful experience for both teachers and students, how we can make engagement, how do we look at a personalized approach, and more than just concentrating on the content, it can be on the skills and the values that we are trying to instill in among the students. And I'm sure there will be more and more people will be inspired with the great work that you're doing, and I'm sure the reach that you have is, I don't know, 30, 40,000 schools in India. And I hope you reach much more than that in the years to come, because we have 1.4 million schools in India. And we need all joyful learning happening in all schools in our country. And with joyful learning, we get joyful citizens who are able to contribute to the economics of society. Otherwise, we can only just dream of this geographical dividend that we talk about, but we are not able to garner that spirit in our policies. But at the same time, the current podcast that we are having, it is mainly looking at pre-service student teachers. They will be one of the key stakeholders who will be viewing it. Definitely, there will be also in-service teachers and also the education officials who are in the respective state governments. What would be your closing message as we are winding up this podcast, especially to the pre-service student teachers?
It was so lovely. I was just watching on my Instagram, a little reel popped up with Tom Hanks, and he was talking about the best advice he ever received coming to a set. And he said, like, when he came to a set one day and he was trying something, and then the director got really furious. And he said, all you have to do is three things. So Tom Hanks said, what? He said, you have to show up on time, you have to know your lines, and then you have to have an idea. He said, that's all you have to do. You have to show up on time, you have to know your lines, and you have to contribute an idea. I think if we just take these three lessons and say that, can you do that? Even showing up on time, my God, why is it called Indian stretchable time? We don't even show up on time. So if we can just show up on time, know why we're there. So that means even if a teacher just says it's not time pass, it's not time pass, I'm there. I'm there to contribute to nation building. Then I show up knowing what I'm supposed to do. And then I contribute an idea. That's agency. I don't come in and just say I was waiting for permission to make something better. So I think if we just keep those three rules of thumb, I think it could be a very simple way to contribute.
I think that particular three parts, showing up on time, knowing your lines, and also contributing with an idea. I think it is not just useful for pre-service student teachers; it's for everyone. All of us is important. That's why many people have fun at our expense. Indians are always in a hurry, but they are never on time. And they're never on time. But I think these three are good message to close our podcast. Thank you once again, Kiran, for joining us. And we look forward to more interactions with you and learning from you and your system that you have developed. And I'm sure our pre-service student teachers who are going to watch this will also get inspired by this.
Please
Thank you once
recommend
again.
them my book, Every Child Can. I think that will be a good read.
Sure, definitely we look forward to that as well.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you
everybody.
once. Thank
Thank
you.
you.